Can you just do me a favor and turn to someone near you and just say, I'm happy to see you today?
I'm happy to see you today, Karen. And to you guys as well.
Oh, that's really exciting. It sounded like a lot of you were very genuine in saying that. So props to you. Very good. Today I hope to speak to, well, I will speak to you about a project that really hopes to take storytelling and use our own identities to pave a path to equity so that we can be vulnerable enough to really do the work that we need to do for the students and the people that we work with. So it all started at Hello. I, like many of you, have had varying degrees of satisfaction and excitement around work. And so at some point in my work life, I started to really investigate and see what really would it take, what conditions need to be present for me to be satisfied and fulfilled in work. And all of the research pointed to two main things: purpose and autonomy. And so when I found out in October 2017, when I went to the Hello orientation, that there was a formalized way that our office was providing the opportunity for our colleagues to really take something that they are passionate about and do something about it that would improve the office, I thought, sign me up. And I had to wait a whole year and a half to do it, but here I am. So I'm really excited to share some of the progress that, that hopefully you'll see too as well. Around the time that I had to start to think about what kind of project I wanted to do, this poster started to pop up into the rooms. I know that you all recognize it back in August 22nd, 2018, that was debuted. And it was. And I really started to focus in on the 4 core principles at the bottom. I thought, those are interesting words at the bottom, and really honed in on the word equity. Equity is a word that has been thrown around in education more recently, in some ways that are positive and productive, in some ways that are just confusing. And so I was wondering what our office was really doing around equity. And here's the image that is associated widely with equity, with the Brown boys or the Brown family looking at the baseball from a vantage point that you would never pay for, my gosh. But as I was really researching equity and what schools were doing, and the research around it, the data was telling us the same thing. That as we dug deeper into the data and looked at it across years, our friend Dr. Pedro Noguera has it correctly. In nearly every category associated with positive academic outcomes, students of color typically are underrepresented. And in every category of negative outcomes, they are overrepresented. And so that really stings me, that a kid can go into a classroom and we know with so much accuracy that they are going to either be successful or there are things that are going to hinder them from being successful. And so when I see the word equity, it really means we need to erase those things that are hindering all of our students from being successful. And as we see here, these lines of achievement are racial. And as we know, from a very young age, the topic of race is a 4-letter word. We know inherently that is something that is difficult and almost something that we never talk about or never want to talk about. And so how as an office are we going to do that, especially with a variety of perspectives? So this is the question that I landed on after I was doing some research and thinking around what project I wanted to do. In addition to that, I was doing some fact finding and ran across our office's employee satisfaction survey results. And as you remember, you had to categorize yourself across a line of 1 to 5 along a lot of different categories. And these categories really told me a lot about what was happening in the office. That although from a localized standpoint to the individual, trust was high. So we have trust with our advisor, our supervisor, and they have trust with us. And also in our department. But as you move farther away from an individual, what I found is that the trust started to lower. So here we see it's 1 to 5, and in our branches and across SCCOE, we see it as a 3.2 and a 3.0. And in addition to that, In topics where it might be risky for a person or you need to take risks, it is also low. It's good to note right now that a 3 out of 5 is just average, right? At most, at best, it communicates a sense of neutrality. So for me, my work really needed to be rooted in the idea that we need to be better than neutral. So how do we get there? Along the same time, I had the experience of doing my Name My Identity with my PLISD partners. And although it was not life-changing, it was mind-shifting. And as I was walking down the halls with people who were once strangers, I noticed a different feel with people who were slightly less than not strangers. And so I knew that stories were powerful. Just the one instance, the stories were powerful. So I wanted to answer these 3 topics in my work. Identity. Who are we and who are you individually? Bias. How does that impact the lens that you see the world and you see the work that we do? And then also action. We talk so much, there needs to be some action that does something for our students. So for educators, I created an online course that helped them to become more culturally responsive. They looked at themselves, their students and families, and then the curriculum and materials. And then I had the great fortune to work with the HR leadership team because I know that the work needs to be done here in this office as well. So I piloted, and I'm in the pilot of working with them to develop identity for themselves and use those stories to connect with each other, to see how that impacts their work together. So here's a list of some of the activities that I've done with them. Feel free to ask me about it later because I just got the note that I have 5 minutes and that was 3 minutes ago. What I realized though, oh no, here's 3 minutes, thank you, James. What I realized though, that although I focused in on the core principles of equity, what I was doing was all 4. So I created a course that hopefully helps teachers inch toward more equitable things in their classrooms. I was working with a team to really improve their ideas around inclusion and diversity. And if you have seen me across this building, I do walkabouts several times a week and have collaborated in small part and in large part with at least 4 different divisions. So partnership was really a core value of what I was doing with this project. And so one of the main lessons is that we are a large rope, and the more that we can utilize all the strands of the rope that SCCOE represents, the stronger our work will be. So I have a lot of gratitude for the work that, the collaboration that has helped me step in this spot right now to be able to tell you about this project, in large part to my mentor, Dr. Damaris Brooks, who was wrangled into being a mentor, my team, who on the daily gets to listen to all of my ranting and all of my ideas, the HR leadership team and Dr. Munchie, who welcomed me and embraced me without really knowing anything about me. So that was really exciting. And then all of these people have been subject to my walkabouts. So thank you very much to all of you who have helped me refine all of my ideas and move them forward. The second lesson that I have is that there's a lot of pain in this office. As I was listening to stories that were surfacing, there's a lot of pain, and we're all carrying some sort of pain every day. In the process of this, my father passed away, and I've shared with many of you that this had happened. So I had the great heaviness of feeling what work is like with such a painful experience. And I also had the huge uplifting experience of what it's like to have so many people bring me up. And so I ask you, as leaders in this organization, if you took inventory of your relationships with the people that you work with, how many of you would feel that people lift you up? And how many people do you lift up when times are difficult or when times are excellent? The third is that stories really do matter. Our stories matter, and sharing them connects us with each other. It makes things that are invisible seen. And it makes things that are blurry and unclear very clear. So how can we provide opportunities to each other so that when I see my colleagues across the way, I see them and they see me? The goal of this project is to expand it to all departments and all divisions. So if you are thinking for yourself, I'd like to add more humanity to my team. I'd like to really develop the relationships and the trust that's necessary to do the hard work to get to equity. Please feel free to chat with me. I'd love to work with your team and do what it takes to move this organization forward through stories and vulnerability. So thank you very much.
Woo!
Can we give Abby another round of applause?
Yeah! Woo!
And a call to action that I hope all of you at some point take advantage of. She's been really great with the HR leadership team, and I'm excited to see this work continue throughout the building. We're done in the Milpitas room. Thank you all. Give yourselves a round of applause for we're all going to meet back in the San Jose room to close out the rest of our LT meeting. Thank you all.